Mr. Mark Forstater, welcome to Pristina and thank you for joining us in this interview.
My pleasure.
Okay. I'm going to start this interview with Monty Python and the Holy Grail, which has become a cult classic and continues to be loved by the audience around the world. What do you think it is about the film that has made it endure so long?
Well, partly because it's a period film, and therefore it doesn't date. So when the film started to get in the charts of best comedy films of all time, it was down around, 50. But every year it kept going higher and higher because most comedy films are not period films, and therefore they eventually date. They don't, they stop looking like, and they become less funny. But because this one happens in the Middle Ages, it's just never dates. And so it kept rising higher and higher on those charts. I think now it's, number 3 or number 5 or number 10. It's more than a cult classic now. It really is a complete classic. It may eventually be voted the funniest comedy film of all time. That might happen.
Yeah, and how did you and the Monty Python team approach creating this comedic masterpiece?
Well, the Monty Python team have their own ways of operating and working. They're writers, performers, and then on this film they became directors. Yeah. So on this film, Terry Gilliam and Terry Jones co-directed the film. And they didn't want any input from me in terms of the content. They assume that producers are not funny, and therefore producers have nothing to contribute. So the only artistic contribution I made was that when I got involved in the project, there was already a first draft script. And the script was, half of it was in the Middle Ages, King Arthur, and the other half was present day, about a man called Arthur King, who was like an accountant. And I thought that the Arthur King sequences were funny, but they weren't as good as the King Arthur scene. So I said, why not make it completely in the Middle Ages?
I see.
And that's eventually what they did do. So there are a few bits left of the present day, including in the end when the police come in and stop everybody filming. But basically it's now about King Arthur and his search for the Holy Grail. So that's my only contribution artistically to the film.
Since Monty Python and the Holy Grail, the film industry has evolved significantly. How do you view the change in filmmaking techniques and technology over the years, and how have they impacted the industry?
Let me say that the film industry is 110 years old. And along that time, it's changed, right? It started out with black and white short films. Then came longer feature films in cinemas. Then came sound. Then came color. Then came television, which really almost destroyed the film industry. But what kept it going was in the 70s, a new generation of filmmakers came up, like Lucas and Coppola, and they were influenced by European directors, Truffaut, Godard, Bergman, and that brought a new life into American film. And in fact, the best films in American industry were made during that period, the 70s to the 90s. But at that point, big industry came into the film industry. General Electric, Sony came in, Gulf and Western, and they had a different attitude to film. They were more interested in the IP and in licensing the film to other mediums. And that's why now they don't make good films. Good films are not being made because these companies, even including Disney, are only interested in what their investors think, because they need investor money coming in. And so they are making films not for their audiences, but for their investors. And you can't make successful films for investors. You have to make it for audiences.
Yeah, and how is important to support and nurture independent and creative voices in the industry, as you are talking about these investors. And is it possible?
The independent film industry is virtually dead commercially. Very few independent films will make money. which means that the producers find it very hard to make a second film if they made a first. So the film industry needs to be restructured. It needs a different way of operating. And that's something that my partner and I are developing. We're developing a platform online called Dreambird, which will put, well, if you analyze the film industry, what is it? It has buyers and sellers. The buyers are the viewers. They've paid for all the films in history by tickets, subscriptions, by watching ads on television. Those are the buyers. The sellers are the producers, the creative teams. So we're putting the buyers and sellers together on one platform where they can communicate with each other. The viewers can say which films they like. They can even invest in films. They can get involved in making films. And that way, the independent film sector will revitalize.
And this Dreambird is that infrastructure that you were mentioning in the beginning?
Yeah, Dreambird is an online platform which will have a screening service. It will screen films that are made on it. It will have a marketplace where people can invest and make money. It will have a social media where they can communicate with each other. They can develop projects together. And basically, it will replace, I think, the existing structure. Because the existing structure, all the strikes in Hollywood now, everyone can see, the structure does not work, right? And they're not working together, no one is happy. The creative people are not getting anything out of it. So it has to change. And we've spent 3 years working on this platform. So we're about to build it. And we think this will make a huge difference for the independent sector.
Yeah, have you started, or is it just an idea, or have you?
It is an idea that's been fully worked out and worked out technically and financially, and we're just raising the money now to make it. We think by the middle of next year it will be up and running.
I think that's it. You are here in Pristina to attend the Pristina International Film Festival Prefest. Are you familiar with Kosovo film industry, and have you had the chance to see any Kosovo film in recent years?
Last night I watched one that I missed. I was told to watch because I'm on the jury. I have to catch up to the films I missed. But I haven't seen Albanian or Kosovan films in the past. So I'm catching up now.
You're catching up now again. As someone who has been part of the film industry for many years, what advice would you give to aspiring filmmakers from Kosovo and the Balkans who are trying to make a mark in the international film industry?
Wow, it's very hard. In London, I've met with film students who tell me that they can't get agents, they can't talk to streamers, they can barely get producers to look at their work, and they don't know what the future is going to be. So I've told them that when Dreambird is set up, they should all come onto Dreambird, then they can talk to each other, they can collaborate, they can make teams, they can develop their projects, and then they can move on and get them made. The main thing for me is that I always make films with the audience in mind, because to me, film is a mass media. I don't, you know, I have made art films, but and I think all film is art, but I always want the audience to come away with a feeling of satisfaction at the end of the film. Satisfied that they've seen something, whether it's serious, comic, musical, whatever, that it's been worth sitting down and watching, especially in a cinema. I mean, although we're building a streaming platform, we want to see films in cinemas, and we want people to enjoy them in cinemas.
I see. As you are talking, I just want to have an idea, an opinion from you. Do you think that these streaming platforms like Netflix and Hulu and others, especially in US, have helped the movies industry, or? No,
they're failing the movie industry because they're not part of it. They don't curate films. They use algorithms to decide what films to make. I think increasingly they'll also start using AI. And now on Dreambird we plan to use AI, but we plan to use it as a tool to assist creative makers. We're going to be making original, unique films. AI can help to do that because it's an amazing tool. But if you rely on AI to start creating, you're going to get second-hand, second-rate movies, which I'm afraid is a lot of Netflix is second-hand and second-rate. There's no involvement with the audience. There's no engagement. It's the same one-way system. That's for 110 years. It's been a one-way system. A group of studios or producers makes a product and sends it out to a mass audience. And there's no feedback, there's no dialogue. This is not the way the world is moving. I mean, we didn't, I wouldn't say we knew this when we started Dreambird, but there's a couple called Alvin and Heidi Toffler. They're futurists. And in 1980, they wrote a book called The Third Wave. And in The Third Wave, they predicted that around this time, around 2020, viewers would want to become prosumers, meaning they would be as interested in what they were viewing as what they were making. And so the audience would want much more engagement. They'd want to be involved. And I think that's where the industry has to move, and that's what we're trying to do. It's completely different. In other words, it's a two-way system. Let's say film investors want to come on, let's say film investors want to come on to Dreambird. What they can do is they can see that there's projects that the audience really likes, because you can tell people are either investing or pre-buying a stream of a film. The film must have some attraction. So the investor could say, well, I'll back this because people already like it. I can see that it has some traction.
So if we use wisely, even AI can help us.
AI can definitely help, for sure. I mean, let's say you've written a screenplay and you think, well, actually, maybe it shouldn't be beginning, middle, and end. What if it should be end, you know what I mean? You could ask AI to do that for you, and it would do it instantly. You then say, well, actually, that's not so good. What if we did, and you could try many different ways of structuring it.
And you can add human touch then.
Yes, I mean, if we think that people should be writing the original screenplays, but in doing that, they can use AI to make it better. To, I mean, I was writing something with my partner. We were doing a video. And he said, look, I'm going to pass what we're writing through AI. Well, the AI wrote it better than we did. It was very good. I was very impressed, you know. Nice. And I'm not a techie, you know. But if they start, let's say, someone like Netflix or the studio say, right, we can get AI to write the screenplay, and then we can get a writer to rewrite it or make it better, or, well, that's hopeless.
Yeah. You've talked earlier gave a message for Kosovo filmmakers. Do you think that from a small place such as Kosovo can get out a great movie?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. First of all, let's say you make a film in Albanian. With the tech that exists now, you could have those actors speaking English, or French, or German. You won't need subtitles anymore, because the lip sync will be perfect, and the language will be you know, the translation should be good. So it means that a film that's good, that has an attraction for an audience, can go worldwide, and that's what we want to see happen.
And the last one, I would like to have an opinion. What kind of topics do you think that are good to be covered now in the film industry?
Whatever, you know, that's a really hard one. If I knew that, I'd be making those films. We are, in fact, we made a film, my partner and I made a film last year, which we are going to use as a kind of promotion for launching Dreambird. It's a rom-com. I think you have to try and be aware of what the audience is thinking about, what's on their minds, what kind of things are concerning them, and then try and you know, get into that. Whether it's comedy or serious drama, you know, you have to be inside the audience's mind and think about their reactions to what you're showing. I mean, it's really, if you do that, then there's a chance that audiences, because look, we are all the same. We are Homo sapiens. We are all the same everywhere, no matter what our color is, religion, politics. Basically, our identity is we are all the same. And therefore, a good story with interesting characters and some dynamic and good photography and will attract a wide audience around the world.
Thank you very much, sir.
Sure.